Star Wars has always been a mixed bag for me. I know people like to defend their favorite trilogy and everything, but I really don't think any of them are anything really that special. I think what really plays into this factor is the fact that the enemy faction, the Empire or the First Order, or sometimes the Separatists, really aren't that intimidating, or they don't really strike fear. I know a lot of people have a lot to do with this and how the new movies work, but they really didn't do a good job. What I mean by this is the people who make up the bulk of the enemy faction is the StormTroopers, of course. I think the StormTroopers really keep it from reaching greatness, or at least the way the StormTroopers are working now. Because the original idea for the Stormtroopers from George Lucas was to make them very comparable to the Nazi regime, which I guess you could somewhat see in even the old trilogy, but as time went on, it's much harder to see now. And with his failures to make the prequel movies good, he really didn't have much say in the new movies, so even if he had the chance to flesh out his image of what he wanted the Stormtroopers to be, he really didn't get the chance. I think the way you could fix the Stormtroopers in Taika's upcoming trilogy is with 3 points. My point number 1 is you should really rethink the people underneath the suits. What I mean by this is Stormtroopers wear these suits it's very pointless that they do. And I think the Stormtroopers could really use either an update in their uniforms, or you just eradicate the suit entirely. I think they should really take a couple notes from the Special Ops Imperial officer from Star Wars Battlefront 2. As you can see, the face isn't completely concealed, but still enough armor to protect them, so you still see that there's a human underneath that suit of armor. And you really don't feel like you should be, just killing them left and right unless it's in a very dire situation. I think that's one way you can solve an issue of morality and personality. I'm not talking about Finn, though. Finn's just a poorly written character. My point number 2, in order to fix them, is to take a couple notes from the newest Mandalorian episode. Spoilers ahead. 3, 2, 1. In the newest Mandalorian episode, Mando and Bo-Katan invade a Imperial freighter. The captain of the freighter seems quite ruthless and obeys Moff Gideon without hesitation. Moff Gideon essentially tells him, "Hail Hydra," his way into the ocean. He attempts to, but in Empire fashion, he fails. That scene is followed up by Bo-Katan interrogating him, and she's asking for the Darksaber's location, but he says to her, even if I told you and you let me live, he wouldn't. So that is really ensuing the fact that the Empire is very serious and very strict on what they're trying to do, because they really believe it is for the greater good. Then after that, he kills himself with whatever Jamie Foxx used to fix the gap in his teeth in Spider-Man. This is very similar to when Nazis would pop a cyanide pill when they're caught by the opposing nations, thus killing themselves. I think this is a step in the right direction as to how ruthless you should make the Empire while making them seem like they really believe in what they're doing. My point number 3 is make the Stormtroopers less dumb or less squishy. Well, let me clarify. What I mean by squishy is they seem very undurable. They don't seem very tough in the slightest. We all know they have their casual Stormtrooper aim, but they just get thrown around, really, and they're used for jokes and methods of humor. I think you can adopt humor in a Star Wars film without always relying on the same crutch every single time. The way they should fix this is, I'm not saying make them look more edgy, but I'm saying make them look a lot more intimidating either underneath the mask, or make the mask look more intimidating, or make them seem a lot more tough, because they should make people fear them the way people fear the Mandalorians. And for point number 4, I would really recommend they take a couple beats off of the clones from the Clone Wars. We all know that the clones were part of the good faction, but part of the Republic, but they managed to make the same person millions of different personalities all in one. I know people like to write off the Clone Wars as just some kid cartoon, but you really shouldn't do that with the Clone Wars. With Rebels, yeah, you can do that, but with Clone Wars, it's much more than that. So I think that you should take a couple notes from the Clone Wars, and especially from Rex and his team, because they all seemed like brothers, to treat each other like brothers, and they really seemed to believe in the purpose they were doing. Point number 5 is take a lot more notes from what the Nazis did in World War II. A scene that is similar to this is in Star Wars The Force Awakens when General Hux is giving his speech in Starkiller Base. In this scene, he is giving his speech in a mostly white and red environment with their banner in the back of the speech area. This is very similar to what would happen when Nazis gave their speech in World War II. They would have the giant Nazi symbol in the back of the speech room. This was somewhat a step in the right direction, but then this scene was followed by planes exploding, and it really just felt like Michael Bay at that point, which is a problem. If you were to use all of things I've just listed, that is one step closer to fixing modern Star Wars. But, all you need to do now is, get rid of the main protagonist, make an actually well-written villain, and never mention the last name Skywalker again, because that's oversaturation. Thank you for watching.